Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all had a refreshing lunch break. Now, to get back in the rhythm of the show, I would like to invite Dharamjot and Nikita back on stage. And this time, they have some more challenging questions to, of course, because all of you have been extremely adept at answering all the previous questions. Let's see how this round goes. Nikita and Dharamjot, on to you guys.
Thanks so much, Diksha. I think now the challenge is, let's see how many of us still get it right after a lovely lunch and a little bit of laziness that may have kicked in. So to perk ourselves up all again, Nikita, the first question, go ahead.
Sure, thanks. The first question is an interesting one again. Frozen fruits and vegetables can be just as nutritious as fresh ones. Do you think, is that a myth or a fact?
Any takers? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Back there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fact. They have no nutrition. The nutrition values as fresh is not equal to the frozen fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Any other takers? Thank you for that. Any other takers? Anyone with a different perspective? Okay, sure. In fact, that's a popular opinion, and that's why we wanted to address this question. Sure, we think that fresh fruits and vegetables, nothing like it in terms of nutritional value, but actually, frozen produce is often frozen shortly after harvesting, and it actually helps preserve a lot of essential nutrients, so it can be a convenient and healthy option as well. Maybe not the best one as compared to fresh fruits, but if the nutrients are kept intact right after harvesting, it serves as a good option as well.
In fact, just to take that forward, Nikita, we see a lot of Western countries where frozen fruits and vegetables are a very common concept.
Yeah.
And so I think the devil lies in the details in terms of how they are packaged, how quickly they are put in a condition that is frozen appropriately, and then also the kind of time that you're keeping it frozen for. Of course, we will have a lot of health experts who will be able to dive into this deeper. But again, this is a very common myth that it is only freshly available produce that has all of its nutrients intact. Frozen is not a bad alternative should the circumstance require. There are several countries in the world that have very low temperatures, sub-zero temperatures, and so that is a methodology that they do have to deploy in circumstances such as this. But of course, in our country, the land of plenty and a country that is agriculturally so rich, that is not an alternative that we as Indians seek often. But thank you for that. We'll move on to the next question very quickly. All ultra-processed foods are unhealthy and should be avoided at all costs. Is it true or is it a myth? Any takers? It's true. All ultra-processed foods are unhealthy and should be avoided. I'm hearing a lot of truth. Do you have a differing opinion, sir? Everyone's saying truth?
Like, for an example, oats. Oats is also produce, further they produce the oats.
So, would you request you to please?
Yeah, could you use the mic, please, so we can all hear you?
Well, ma'am, I would not say all the processed foods are unhealthy, because I'll take an example of what I'm consuming. So, like oats. So, oats are further processed from the raw materials, but it is not unhealthy. Rather, when it get produced, like further steps, when it breaks down in the further steps, it is actually easy for our stomach to digest it. So I would not say all the foods are bad, but yes, there are some foods which, if we consume as a raw, would be good. Otherwise, this is not fact.
That is, you're right. So there are certain categories of foods that are processed, but they're not necessarily completely unhealthy. As oats, you mentioned being one point, bread would be another, packaged bread, not an entirely unhealthy option. Of course, there are people in the higher social structure who may look at freshly baked bread from bakeries or something you make at home yourselves. But even bread that's available from factories, it is not necessarily ultra-processed food that is very bad for you. Again, of course, devil lies in the details, as I mentioned, how much you consume, what your health parameters are, what doctors' recommendations are, given you have any sort of history. All of those factors are, of course, very important to take into consideration. But the entire reason we are having this discussion and discourse is to ensure that we don't have a blanket judgment for anything and everything across all categories. It's important to look at the details. More importantly, it's crucial to look at the ingredients that are being used and how they are being processed or manufactured. In all of those details is when you'll realize whether something is truly bad for you or it's something that you can consume in moderation. So thank you so much for that, sir, and thank you everyone for all your answers. Yes, quick gifts for everybody. We have no blanket rules, so winners can get more than one. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Now the next question is something that encourages, again, we've been told that it affects our overall well-being and day-to-day health. Do you think that diets rich in fiber can help you feel fuller for longer? Especially, you generally working long hours. What are your perspectives on that? Yes, ma'am, right at the back. Could you use the mic, please?
Hello. Yeah, I feel like it does keep you fuller.
Right, you're right. Do you have any science to back that up? That's fine. Yeah, please go
It
ahead.
increases the satiety value of a person.
You're absolutely right. That's a good answer. Yes, sir. Would you like to add to that?
Diets rich in fiber absorb a lot of water. That helps in the possibility of satiety, as she said. So diets rich in water, rich in fiber, absorbs a lot of water, and that helps us feel fuller.
You're absolutely right, both of you, and thank you for that. Could we have the mementos, please? So essentially, diets rich in fiber, be it fruits, vegetables, is encouraged on a daily basis. Even when you pack your tiffins to work, ensure that you have food that is rich in fiber. You have our whole grain chapatis, vegetables, fruits, and especially in winters is when fiber-rich diets are supposedly really good for your digestion because activity is less. So at least you hope that in terms of digestion, you're not avoiding the body in terms of essential nutrition. Thank you. Moving on.
All right, next question. If a food is labeled low fat or fat free, it is automatically healthier than other alternatives. Truth or myth? I heard someone say Diet Coke. To the sir in pink, please.
So it's a myth, ma'am. Yeah, it is. If it is classified as low fat, does not make it healthy. There are, only specified amount of fats in any food product that are recommended. And again, it depends on whether it is saturated, unsaturated. That is the main thing. My name is Vivek, and I'm an IT services professional. Thank you.
Wonderful, that's the correct answer. Thank you so much, sir. Just because something is labeled low fat or fat free doesn't necessarily mean it is automatically a healthier alternative. Like sir mentioned, there could be other alternatives used on those particular goods. And so you have to really read the label, read the details to ensure what exactly has been put in that particular product and whether or not it classifies truly as a healthy alternative to other mainstream alternatives. Thank you so much for that, sir. Can we have the memento, sir, please? Okay, next question.
Right. This is an interesting one, and something that personally I have heard while growing up, and even now till date. You have your grandparents, your parents at your home, and what is encouraged is that adults should avoid eggs because it contains cholesterol.
Fact or myth?
Do you think that's the right? Okay, I have some
The
repeated.
gentleman in the turban, please.
It's
Yes,
a
sir.
myth. It's a myth. Yeah, I have my dad who is 91 and he's eating eggs almost every day.
Right.
So and he's healthy and fit and fine. I don't think so. It's true.
That's a
It's
real
myth.
life
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Sure. Would I request Dr. Sir, could you please substantiate that answer? It'll be great to have your insights on that. Adults should avoid eggs because they contain cholesterol. This is something that we hear on a daily basis, for our parents, grandparents back at home. What are your insights on this?
So this is a very interesting question, actually. So eggs are complete food. So it has protein, calcium, even fat. So some fat is good. So if you have eggs in moderation, is very, very good. You can easily have 2 whole eggs a day at whatever age. And you can have 4 to 5 egg whites. So if you have in moderation, there's no problem. If you have too much of egg yellows, which are not good, so the yolk part, which contains more cholesterol, definitely if you're having more, with age, your cholesterol will shoot up. So in moderation, 2 full eggs is good enough, and maybe 4 or 5 egg whites is also good enough, along with that.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, sir.
example.
You were absolutely right.
Yeah, I give you a live example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause, please.
All right, next question, and this is a concept that has gained a lot of popularity in the last few years. Intermittent fasting is the most effective way to lose weight. Fact or myth? We're seeing, like in a classroom, you have those 3 students who are answering everything. Please don't make me pick on people. We can have more participation. Sure, the sir over there in the white shirt. Can we have the mic for him, please?
It is a fact, actually. I was 85 kgs and I did intermittent fasting, and I'm 64.5 now. And
Did you also do something else?
Nothing. Just walking my dog and normal eating.
And how many hours a day was the intermittent? Because I believe there are different cycles for that. So
was it around 16
Right.
hours of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So intermittent fasting, again, I think it's a subset of the larger concept of trying to control your calorie consumption in a day. I think it's one of the methods of doing that. But intermittent fasting is not like the most effective. Again, it depends on your body type. Some people, given their metabolism, their lifestyles, their sleep cycles, a lot of those factors play a big role. It's a very effective method that a lot of people have used, as you've also mentioned, sir. But it's one part of a larger conversation of weight loss in terms of how many calories you consume throughout the day, what are the kind of nutrients involved in your consumption throughout the day, your sleep cycle, your exercise workout routine. Of course, all of those factors play a big part in this entire weight loss journey that a person might undertake. But thank you so much for sharing your own example and your perspective. I think sir over there wanted to add some perspective as well. I'll just come there quickly. You had something to say, sir.
Yeah, in very olden times, people used to have 1 meal a day. Now we have 6 meals a day. A lot of people advocate to have something every 2 hours. That is also probably a myth rather than a fact. But olden times, 1 meal a day was prescribed.
Oh, mad. Yes.
Yeah. So that itself is kind of intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is, primary aim is not to lose weight, which is in modern times probably one of the ways of doing it. Intermittent fasting is more of a way of life that improves your system, increases the gut bacteria, and reduces the load on the system, digestive system,
Right.
rather than a way of reducing weight.
Right. Thank you so much for that perspective. And with that, we will be wrapping up this particular quiz session of fact versus myth. Again, thank you everyone for being such a lovely, receptive audience and sharing all of your insights on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
We might be back again. You never know. But thank you.
Well, absolutely, Dharamjot and Nikita, we have a particularly well-informed audience, sitting with us. Please give a huge round of applause to yourself. And before we move forward, let's take a look at how hospitals across India are changing the healthcare landscape. And here's a glimpse of our partners, Sarkis Hospital and Oxymed Hospital.
Healthcare demands world-class doctors, specialists, technicians to treat health emergencies with the most modern equipment. Oxymed Hospital does just that. At Oxymed Hospital, innovation meets compassion to deliver healthcare that changes lives. Established in 2004 in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Our 24-hour multi-specialty institution is dedicated to advancing patient care through research, evidence-based medicine, and personalized treatment. We are especially committed to supporting patients with heart failure and those facing limited or inoperable treatment options, offering new possibilities, renewed hope, and better outcomes. Internationally recognized for his pioneering research in heart failure treatment, Dr. Sama Akbar has contributed to the global advancement of cardiac care through publications in the Journal of Cardiac Failure and Research, indexed in PubMed. His award-winning scientific presentation at AIMS stands as a testament to his dedication to innovation, scientific excellence, and academic leadership. Together, Dr. Sama Akbar and Oxymed Hospital continue to shape the future of cardiac care, driven by a commitment to prevention, intervention, research, and compassionate healing. Oxymed Hospital, advancing lives through prevention, intervention, research, and compassion.
For centuries, healthcare has operated on a simple sequence: disease, diagnosis, and treatment. Now, artificial intelligence is attempting to rewrite the sequence altogether. Its most disruptive promise isn't better treatment, it's prediction. The ability to identify disease before symptoms appear and intervene before illness takes hold. And that raises some fascinating questions. If AI eventually becomes better at diagnosis than humans, how do hospitals adapt? What bargain would we as a society be willing to make for a better chance at a healthier life? Our privacy, perhaps? And if despite all that, an algorithm gets it wrong, who is held responsible? Is it the doctor? Is it the hospital? Or is it perhaps the technology company? Now, these are some of the questions we will be exploring in our next session with our panel of experts.
Have you recently undergone a blood test, X-ray, MRI scan, or colonoscopy? If yes, then chances are that an artificial intelligence or AI algorithm was the first to interpret the results even before it reached your doctor. Over the past few years, AI has made rapid inroads into the healthcare industry. AI-powered tools assist in surgeries, diagnose diseases, and offer virtual consultations. This transition from traditional medicine to telemedicine and now to AI-driven healthcare technology marks a pivotal shift in the way healthcare is evolving today. One of the most important features of AI in healthcare is medical imaging and diagnostics. Leveraging deep learning and computer vision, AI systems can detect abnormalities such as tumors, fractures, and internal bleeding. AI also enables personalized healthcare by analyzing genetic data and medical histories. Yet, despite these advantages, one question remains: will AI replace doctors in the near future? While AI might be quick to plan out a treatment, it is the doctor who can look at the patient and sense when something is amiss, and then decide the line of treatment specific to the patient's condition. Such observations or intuitions of the doctors go beyond what algorithms can provide. So, can healthcare be outsourced to AI, replacing human doctors? For our session on AI and digital integration, we welcome on stage Dr. Nitish Nayak. Dr. Nitish Nayak is a Padma Shri awardee and a cardiologist known for his exceptional expertise in interventional cardiology, medical education, and clinical leadership. He currently serves as a senior cardiologist and professor at the Department of Cardiology at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Dr. Sama Akbar. Dr. Sama Akbar is an interventional and heart failure cardiologist who is currently serving as the managing director of Oxymed Hospital in Chennai. Dr. Akbar has successfully published papers on non-surgical management of advanced heart failure cases in the prestigious Journal of Cardiac Failure, recently awarded for his work at the International Society for Heart Research at AIIMS, New Delhi. Dr. Rohit Luthra. Dr. Rohit Luthra is a robotic orthopedic surgeon and director of Arcus Hospital in Pune. Dr. Luthra introduced India's first bilateral DAA or direct anterior approach, which is a modern muscle-sparing technique for total hip replacement. He is fondly called by his patients as the joint genie. Dr. Arjun Dang. Dr. Arjun Dang is a pathologist with a specialization in liver and GI histology and holds a certification in clinical allergy from the European Academy of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. He is recognized for his commitment to diagnostic accuracy, innovation, and patient-centric healthcare technologies. He currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer and partner at Dr. Dang's Lab LLP, a leading diagnostics institution based in Delhi NCR.
I'd like to quickly thank our distinguished panel for making time for us today. And before we start the session, is it all right if we can get a show of hands from the audience? I want to know how many of you have ever fed your symptoms, your lab reports, or you've asked AI, any chatbot, to decipher your medical reports for you. Can I get a show of hands? It's okay, many of us are guilty of it. I know I am. And what if I tell you that, in a recent study that put doctors and AI through the same diagnostic reasoning test. And doctors who were working alone, they scored 74%. Doctors who were using AI, they scored 76%. Would you want to guess how much AI alone scored? A ballpark figure, anyone from the audience? Would any of you like to take a guess at it? Exactly. AI alone scored 90% on that reasoning test. Now, I want you all to, just sit with that math for a second and see if by the end of the session, your assumptions are reassured or perhaps your opinion is changed on that.
Okay, but let me come in right there. On a lighter note, everyone please take out your phone and open the AI app that you use and ask the AI one simple question. And I can bet it's going to answer it wrong. Is that a challenge?
Please go ahead.
Please take out your phones, ladies and gentlemen, and ask your AI, agar ChatGPT hai, Gemini hai, Meta AI hai, usse पूछो which are the days in the week that have the letter D in them. How many of you will get the right answer? I hope no one does, because see, this is the paradox. Even if on the same AI platform right now you ask everyone in the room, pick any number between 1 and 50. Did you get the right answer, sir? Tuesday kahan gaya? To galat hai answer. Anyone else? Anyone with the expensive Claude ka $200 wala subscription? Absolutely. Correct. So no one got the right answer because the right answer is all days, right? So now if you type one more question, pick a number between 1 and 50. Everyone's going to get 27. Okay, we'll play these games later, I'm sorry. But let's not give AI too much credit. It is there, and of course, the stalwarts with
Absolutely,
me will discuss
and we
more.
are here to put it to test. Which is why, Dr. Nayak, I want to start with you, and I just want to understand what kind of conversations are happening around AI in your circles in hospitals, and what is the broader sentiment around it?
So see, AI is a very exciting field, and I have to say that AI is the way we're going to move forward in medicine. And the reason is exactly what you said. The ability to digest a whole lot of information, to digest patterns that we don't recognize, and give out something that is useful. So let me give you an example of how it's being deployed. Imagine yourself sitting in this room like we are, and we have cameras running everywhere. And what if I could pick up just from the camera patients who have a heart rhythm problem? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yes, we are beginning to do that. And how? Because you are able to train these digital tools into diagnosing heart conditions. Maybe it can diagnose blood pressure. Maybe it can warn a person who has got diabetes. Maybe it can diagnose some other condition. So these things are patterns that hitherto went unrecognized. What if my glasses could help diagnose whether I suffer from blood pressure or maybe some other medical condition? So that's the way moving forward. Similarly, for a surgeon, he's a robotic surgeon, or maybe somebody's doing abdominal surgery. What if the robot can diagnose, oh, there's a lump over there that needs to be addressed that was missed on the CT. So all those things are coming up. So it's a very exciting field. But at the same time, we have to recognize there'll be a lot of other challenges that come in, especially like the one Arjun just said, that there'll be misdiagnosis, and we have to be warned of that as well. So it's the way forward, but yes, with humans will remain in the loop.
Absolutely, and the scenarios that you mentioned, it does not seem that it's out of a sci-fi movie at all, because these are very real conversations we're having on platforms like these. My next question is to Dr. Akbar. Dr. Akbar, do you have patients who are coming into you, with diagnosis from ChatGPT, convinced that they've figured what the problem is, what the cause of the solution is, and how do you tackle people like that?
Okay, coming back to the first statement you'd made about that study, 74, 76, and 90%. Those doctors, unfortunately, I don't think they had OC. AI is artificial intelligence. OC is original common sense. Just add those two together, those numbers will go up dramatically. You'll probably get 98 or 99. I look at AI like umpire's call. If it's hitting the stump a little bit less than half the ball, it's still umpire's call, it's out. But there's some human aspect to it. But unfortunately, we don't have only 2 or 3 DRS reviews in our OPD. Everybody, infinite DRS reviews, everyone comes with a DRS review, and it becomes problematic. And our OPD consultations go longer and longer. I'm sure sir also would agree with me, and many of the other doctors in this August gathering would have had this meme passed around that doctor consultation alone 500, Google plus Google 1000, AI please come after 3 months with 3,000 deposited pre.
But we often joke about Dr. Google, Dr. ChatGPT, but do you think there's a meaningful difference between an uninformed patient and a misinformed patient? And do you think that the patient who is using ChatGPT, they might not have the right diagnosis, but are they perhaps asking better questions? Because I would assume that must have helped make the patients more medically literate, at least in some sense. Do you see that shift happening?
A huge shift happening. People going for master health checkups because they've just become far more approachable in urban centers. Master health checkups have become a lot less expensive. People are getting those tests done, and they're feeding it directly into these platforms, and they're getting a host of diagnoses out of that. It's generating a lot of angst. And suppose if it's somebody who's come from a distant area and they've done the test and they're going back to their hometown and they upload it, and the GPT, it suggests that you do further testing, like a nuclear scan. It's not available there. And it generates a lot more stress than that is necessary. Many a times, as Dr. Dang had already mentioned, the answers are not so replicable. Till we get to that point, these are evolving platforms, and it's generating preformed transformers, GPT. So all the time it's evolving. You're not going to get the same answer every time. You're going to get evolving answers because data is continuously being fed in. So it's should be used with original common sense, and I think that's the way forward.
Well said, Dr. Akbar. Now, Dr. Luthra, you've spent a considerable time integrating robotics with data and highly personalized scanning, which surgical planning into your practice. When you look at the operating room today, where do you think technology has made the most genuine improvements, and where do you think that human judgment still remains sacrosanct?
Yeah, so very good question. So when we integrate robotics or AI with surgical parts. So what AI is doing, we're doing pre-operative CT scans for our patients, which you're not doing when I'm doing a conventional surgery. So a robotic surgery implies that you do a CT scan. That CT scan, we get a 3D segmentation of the scan. We get a 3D bone model before we actually do the surgery. On that model, we do sizing of the implant, what size of the, for example, for the hip replacement, what size of cup, what size of stem will fit the patient. We do know that before we start the surgery. And we do a virtual surgery on the computer before we actually doing a surgery. So we see the whole range of movement of the joint, whether the joint is going to dislocate at a particular angle. And if it dislocates on the software, then we can do some changes in the implant placement in terms of anteversion or inclination, so that it becomes a joint which is very stable. And then the same thing we help put into the robot, and the robot is helping us in performing the same pattern what you've decided. So what is helping is making me sure that what I want to do preoperatively, and then we plan and then we execute. So right from planning to execution, everything is streamlined and we get exactly what we want. So some patients ask me, the doctor, I've suggested a robotic surgery, and they come, doctor, if robot is doing the surgery, what are you going to do? They think that the surgeon is going to sit and have tea in the corner while the robot is operating. It's not like that. The surgeon himself is in total control of the surgery. Robotics, I would say, is a tool which is guiding the surgeon in doing the surgery in the right manner. It's like using Google Maps. So it's giving you and showing the way, but the surgery itself is performed by the doctor. The doctor can overrule the robot anytime he feels that something is going wrong, because robot does not know the tissue tension. He does not know the soft tissue release, because this is all, robotics is all, like Dr. Dang also said, it's all data which we've given in. And it's not applicable to all patients. Some patients would have a vascular abnormality. It's not same everywhere. So the surgeon is still in control, but robotic is making the surgeon smarter. So it is human intelligence plus artificial intelligence plus robotics, which is the way to go forward. We cannot deny robotics from our life, and it's here to stay. We should adapt it to become better surgeons, better doctors, to implicate it in our day-to-day life so that we get better results.
Right, and that is the sweet spot. But at the same time, from what I'm picking up, personalization remains a deeply integral part of your process. And of course, the other promise of AI is reducing the diagnostic errors and identifying disease early. Dr. Dang, do you think AI can genuinely help close the diagnostic gap? And of course, in a country which is as diverse as India, as in fact, Dr. Akbar had also mentioned that getting access to your metro cities is one thing, but tier 2, tier 3, where the tools might be now coming into the conversation, but perhaps the technologies and the right, medical care is still a far cry.
So I think this is a very relevant question, and before I begin, I want to thank today's organizers for having us with such a prestigious panel with me. So the way I look at the role of technology when it comes to diagnostics is probably going to be explained by two very common things that all of us experience. Now, everyone that I see in the room right now, how many of us have actually, for ourselves or one of our family members, our parents, children, wife, or whosoever, gone for a standard kind of quote-unquote test package at a lab near us? Most of us, right? So now, it's actually a paradox. When we talk about the world, about personalization, about preventive diagnostics, how can two people of the same age and gender have the exact same test requirements? That is absolutely not possible. Hypothetically, if 4 of us are, say, 30-year-old males, One might have a health goal, like I have a health goal of weight loss, whereas someone else might have hair thinning, someone else might be planning a family, so they want sexual wellness, whereas someone else wants to work on their sleep and mood. So everyone has a different health goal. Someone is probably having a beer every day, so they definitely need a liver function test, whereas someone is going to the gym for 4 hours in a day and having lot of creatine and protein, and they need an extended kidney function test. Someone's parent has uncontrolled diabetes, so they need a deep dive into blood sugar, HbA1c, cystatin, microalbumin testing. So essentially, right now, when we go into a lab, we are picking a package based on two things, considering we are not from the medical fraternity. And the first one is our basic medical knowledge. कि अच्छा एक डायबिटीज़ का टेस्ट कर दें, या अच्छा एक लिवर वाला भी ज़रूर कर देना, एक हीमोग्लोबिन ऐड कर देना भैया. Second is, of course, our budget, right? Where we want to spend 2,000, 5,000 or 10,000 and pick a package based on that. Now, to circumvent this one-size-fits-all issue, we actually launched an AI-backed website 4.5 years back that is free for use for everyone. It's called discoverbydrang.com. You log into that, the AI asks you your health goal, prompts a few questions, and then gives you a scientifically backed, curated test package where every test has a peer-reviewed publication to show which test you need and why you need it. So if we say there is a 40-year-old male in North India who's a vegetarian and needs a vitamin B12 test, then there is an article to actually back that up. So I mean, today when we are in this era where everything is so cookie cutter when it comes to diagnostics, it's something that we genuinely lost sleep over. And of course, AI and technology was a great example on how we circumvented that. And of course, I've always believed that I would like to conclude by saying AI should be E4 to make health P4. So your AI should be E4, the 4 E's stand for ethical, equitable, evidence-based, and explainable. For health to be P4 is personalized, preventive, predictive, and participatory. So I mean E4 for P4. I mean, that is my moral of the story.
E4 for P4. That's understood, Dr. Dang. Very interesting points there. Now, we understand that there is a certain layer of skepticism when it comes to AI. We know it's not where it has reached a point where it can do those remarkable revolutionary stuff, but it's definitely in the process. Now, in the same breath, Elon Musk recently argued that AI and robotics will eventually outperform doctors and surgeons entirely. And we know what AI is capable of. We've gotten a small glimpse from all our panelists. Dr. Naik, do you think that possibility can ever materialize where AI can completely replace a doctor? I know it'll probably replace me first. Journalists would be gone, but doctors, do you think perhaps would be the last in line?
See, I don't think so. We can see a condition in which AI will be completely autonomous, and a robot will be able to completely supplant a surgeon, and the surgeon need not be there. That would be fictitious because there are many things that need a human intervention. And although AI, the robot can certainly help assist performing tasks, but we have certainly not reached the stage where they can become completely autonomous and completely perform surgery without any human intervention. But we should realize that AI is a tool that has to be employed after using it's a correct basis. Because there are umpteen examples where AI can cause hallucinations. AI can fictitiously bring out diagnoses and suggestions which are completely incorrect. Let me give you a very pertinent example of what was done a few years ago. Somebody from one of the universities abroad deliberately planted a fake article into the scientific journal. It was a deliberate attempt. It was a disease called, I wonder if you know about it, it's quite famous amongst our community, a disease called Biksuni mania. The name is incredulous. There's no such disease whatsoever. An article was deliberately planted into the scientific press that there is some such disease or its symptoms were written and this thing and that thing. So just one article. And it took just 2 years for AI to generate a whole lot of literature behind it. And so and in fact, once AI recognized this as a condition, it autonomously created a condition that, oh, this is the disease prevalence, these are the symptoms, this is how you should recognize this is how you should treat it. And if you Google it now, you'll read about it. So, you cannot completely depend on AI because, AI comes from a whole lot of sources. Remember that health information is information that if it has to be used for generating any sort of background knowledge, it has to be from medical journals. But if AI is taken from social media, it is taken from the lay press, then its interpretations, it's whatever discussions it may form around it will be completely incorrect. And one last example that I'll give you is of how one AI generated model completely made a wrong set of diagnosis for a group of patients. There was one hospital located in a place A, and another hospital that was located just 2 kilometers away, hospital B. So in hospital A, they looked at patients who came to the intensive care unit. They looked at what diseases they had, what findings they had, and based on that, they made a risk score that if you have these conditions, then you have you need this treatment or that treatment or this thing or that thing. So the whole AI-based algorithm was made to manage patients who came with that condition. And when they validated that model, they said, hey, let's apply to this other model, to this other hospital, which is across the road, and let's see how well it works in diagnosing a condition, in giving out suggestions on what treatment should be done, what follow-up should be suggested to that patient so that they don't have problems in the future. It didn't work at all. It could not diagnose a single condition. Its usefulness was completely useless. Its utility was useless, and it had to be abandoned. And why was that? Because hospital A had a different set of patients. They had a different background. They had a different age. They were from a different community. Hospital B had a different set of patients. They're from, again, a completely different background. So, the utility of a model will only apply to the condition, to the patients on which it is based, and therefore a model made in North India may not work in South India, and may not work in East India, and may not work in West India. So these models will be fraught with problems if they're not based on the population for which they are designed.
Right, Dr. Naik, please, Dr. Luthra.
Can I add? With due respect to Elon Musk, what his predicted is based on cognition, not on computation, not cognition. So AI is all computation, while our science, health is all cognition. So we cannot replace cognition by computation. Certain branches like radiology or pathology or dermat, they are pattern-based specialties. So here the AI plays a bigger role, and I don't agree that it will totally replace the doctors. But other specialties which needs cognition, so that are very hard to replace by any AI, because cognition is only by human being. No system built whatever way can do cognition by a person. That human touch or the moral sense which the surgeon has or a clinician has by checking the patient, by touching him, by checking him clinically. So that will not be done by the AI.
Absolutely, and doctors like you have the right tools and the skill set to make that differentiation. But for audiences like us, we live in a time where we've never had this amount of information at our fingertips, and yet it has never been so difficult to find credible information. That is the world we're living in. But Dr. Akbar, now coming to you, as we were discussing earlier in the opening as well, that healthcare has followed a certain sequence for the longest time. You have a disease, you get it diagnosed, and then you go for treatment. Now, if AI proceeds on the trajectory that it's on, and prevention, we've always said prevention is better than cure, and if now that is materialized, what happens to the hospital economics, and how do hospitals adapt to this change?
Okay, you're asking a preventive cardiologist. I really try to prevent people from coming and getting to the hospital. And I think that's the best way forward. Even hospital economics, because you're going with the trend, you're going to shake hands and improve your ethical practice. And that's what is the touch and feel of medicine. There is the science of medicine, which we learn out of textbooks, and then there's the art of practicing it. And that becomes all that more vital when you're able to do a good outpatient department, when you're able to do good preventive medicine. And that's something which I feel AI has helped. When you do load up these tests, usually it's smart, it's evolving, so it's able to see which answers are getting more reads. Obviously, those answers which can be followed up, which can be easily implemented, like lifestyle modifications, dietary changes, implementations on exercise, those things the patients can do, or at least they can tell their elders, or they can tell their family members, and that gives a lot more screen time. AI knows that, so it'll suggest that first. And that, I feel, is a boon from the AI sector. And as far as the hospital economics goes, treating patients who have definite disease is far more validating, more joyful than treating people who have marginal disease or don't have much disease. Unnecessary investigations are avoided, unnecessary questions, litigations, lawsuits are avoided. And I think that gives you a lot of mind space, because if I have a smile today as your doctor, you're going to trust me for tomorrow as well.
That's really reassuring for all of us in this room here. Now, Dr. Nang, as Dr. Naik was also mentioning that a particular treatment or a particular approach which might work in North India may not work in South India, and same goes for East and West. But we understand that compared to many developed countries, India still faces a shortage of doctors. We have one doctor for roughly 800 patients, if I'm not incorrect on that, and this alongside persistent gaps in access. Do you think AI would be able to democratize access to these systems?
So partially yes, but of course with that human oversight that is required. So I think access in a scalable speciality, like what sir was saying, like perhaps radiology or pathology, I think is far more doable, or at least what we see in the immediate future. So right now we have remote reporting that is across countries or states or cities without any geographical boundaries, is something that has leveraged super specialist care even to the remotest of places. So I mean, if there is a particular hospital or a tertiary care center where they are doing a particular surgery, there's actually a certain kind of speciality known as a frozen section, wherein the patient is on the OT table and the surgeon has cut open the patient, and then they really see something and they're confused whether it's cancer or not. And that is the time when they take a little swab from that sample or a little biopsy, and the patient is under anesthesia. And that sample goes to the lab, and they ask the pathologist within 30 minutes to tell them that is it malignant or not. Because if it's cancer, then of course they have to cut out a lot more and take the entire thing out. So now with frozen sections also, when there is a specialist pathologist who's not available at that tertiary care center or hospital, what AI helps us do is that digitize that particular slide, send it to a Delhi or a Bombay or a Hyderabad or a Bangalore or wherever that pathologist is, triage the case, give a differential diagnosis, but the ultimate stamp of diagnosis, of course, comes from the human mind only. I mean, like all my fellow panelists have said today, I would like to reinforce that of course AI is a tool, it's like a very, very effective nurse, but again, I mean, the final decision has to be with clinical oversight. On a lighter note, since everyone is using AI, just 4 days back, our customer care had got a call, and this elderly lady who's 85 years old, and she was screaming at the top of her voice, and she was saying, I want to speak to Dr. Dang right away. I'm very angry. And then, of course, it escalated to me. In 10 minutes, I called her back, and I was like, good evening, ma'am. I'm Dr. Dang speaking. How can I help you? So in Punjabi, she said this, but I'll translate into English. And she said, "Twadi report galat hai," as in your report is wrong. And I was like, ma'am, why would you say that? She's like, no, you know, I'm third generation. My grandchildren also come to you now. But today, your urine culture report is wrong. I was like, ma'am, please tell me what happened? I'll just open your report. She's like, no, 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 no. You've written I'm sterile in that, and ChatGPT tells me sterile means that I've never had any children. मैं तो 4 पोते हैगे. So, if you don't prompt or use AI in the proper sense,
Right.
I mean, it can go haywire. So, I mean, I would like to end on that note.
You, Dr. Dang. And I'm shifting focus to Dr. Luthra. We understand that India doesn't simply face a shortage of doctors. It is, of course, a situation. It's also a distribution access problem that we have, and some of our best specialists, some of them that we have on the panel here today, most of them are concentrated in the metro cities. People don't have, access to quality healthcare. What do you think? Would AI be able to help in that? And another question that I'm very curious to ask of both of you, at least, you've increasingly mentioned, disciplines like radiology. Would you have some advice for students, young professionals who might be pursuing careers that you think might become obsolete or easily replaceable in AI going forward? Just picking up on the conversation we've been hearing here today.
That's a difficult question, so I should not discourage. But yeah, if you look in the future, I think these specialties, especially who are pattern-based specialties, would be caught up easily by the AI, and maybe it would replace to a certain extent the doctors who are not interventional radiologists, but the typical basic radiologists will be replaced by the AI very soon. Because AI is coming in a big way. And to come to the second part, the second question, but the first question you asked was, how do we integrate into the periphery? How do we get the AI helping us? So I think AI, in the sense, what AI will help us is, for example, in a village or a smaller setup where there are no special doctors. So what AI can do is it can help in screening or funneling these patients. And for example, there are thousands of patients in a village, 1 lakh, population of 1 lakh in a village. Out of that, the AI can actually screen out or funnel out. Maybe there are 1,000 patients with osteoporosis, which needs attention. So these, then the doctors over there who are not very keen, so they can actually start treatment for these patients, so that we can start preventive, as we spoke about preventive, so that we can prevent fractures in such patients by starting early treatment. So that's how it can help. And the second way is these centers which are small, which if we integrate AI to these centers, what it can help us is it can help the primary care doctor to actually refer these patients to the tertiary care center and quite early, so that, for example, for a cancer patient, if the patient is referred early, we can save the patient in time. So, and that's how it will actually create a big impact.
Right, and it is a delightful conversation, and I wish we had more time. But quickly, I just want to get your opinions before we wrap up. If we were having this conversation, let's say 5 years down the line, now what is that one breakthrough in AI, robotics, or diagnostics, or even digital health that you're most excited and the most hopeful for? Dr. Naik, why don't you start?
Well, I think one of the exciting things that will happen in robotics and in surgical fields will be creation of digital twins. For example, when we do a complex arrhythmia surgery in patients, we are working on hearts that are barely functioning. We have abnormal heart rhythms that may be located in an area as small as 2 millimeters. And to find that from a catheter that is about 150 centimeters long is often a challenge. And therefore, precision will improve greatly if the doctor is well informed prior to the procedure as to where he should go. He can perform that procedure faster, better, and give a more effective outcome. So I think, so yes, robotics and AI are something that are going to be integrated into our practice, and we see us delivering even better quality care in the coming years.
Noted, Dr. Naik. Very interesting, but of course the trade-off for that is how much access are we as a society willing to give? Because digital twin is ultimately you're giving up all your vital metrics, and of course we'll have to see if that is something that society as a whole would be willing to trade for something which is as important as life or death.
Yeah, no, what I mean by the digital twin is for surgical procedures, and that not for trading information. When you're trading health information, that, like you rightly said, is going to be a major challenge.
Right.
Because when you start sharing personal reports on the net, we have to, there's a lot of personal data that goes out, and that is a major challenge for data privacy, and that will be the next hurdle to cross, There are some specific sites that are trying to look into it, but yes, that challenge is still there.
Right, Dr. Naik. I'd like to extend the same question very quickly to you, Dr. Akbar. What are you most excited for?
So, predominant practice is in rural Tamil Nadu. It's in a town called Ambur, which is famous for biryani. We have a doctor-patient ratio of 1 is to 11,000. That is, doctor-cardiologist ratio is 1 is to maybe 10 lakh population. I'm the only visiting cardiologist in that region. So, low tech, easy accessibility, AI is something which is the need of the hour over there. So, voice-based recognition protocol to identify breathing patterns and speech patterns to identify even respiratory disease, heart disease. These things are algorithms which are evolving, and I think for prognostication, AI is a good screening tool at the current level of excellence, the current level of tech. I think as a screening tool to direct them towards the right rational next step, I think AI would be a very good tool.
Noted, Dr. Akbar. Now, that's unfortunately all the time that we had, but we'd love to continue this discussion after this panel. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on the panel and sharing your wonderful insights with us. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause, please.
Thank you.
And now it's time to call Dharamjot and Nikita back on the stage and test how much, we know about healthcare and how much do you think we know, but we might actually be, challenged in our perception. Dharamjot and Nikita, on to you guys.
Thanks, Diksha.
Thank you so much. Well, this was a very informative session with so much to look forward to, and we are back with some very fundamental do you or do you not know the answers to these questions? So we're going to take all of us back to the basics after this incredible discussion that we just had. And so the first question that I have on my mind, that I know a lot of people would also have on their minds, is it's concerning water. Everyone must drink exactly 8 glasses of water. We don't exactly know where this originated, but we hear this so often from medical specialists or friends or even our family. And the big thing that you hear is you should have at least 8 glasses of water. Now, is that a fact or is that a myth?
Yes, sir. That was a very prompt.
That is a third alternative, sir.
In fact, it's a largely true, but definitely a myth as well, because it depends upon the conditions that you are working or sitting, or the environment that you are working with. Even on occasions, I find that 4 glasses of water, I don't feel like drinking more water. Or on occasions, I feel like drinking 4 glasses at a time. It depends upon the conditions that you are working and the environment that you are.
Right, you're absolutely right. But if I could just weigh in a little bit of medical expertise here, so why is it that we've heard, and you also said it's a myth, but why do we hear about these things so often, and why is it so normalized?
I think this is one of the garbage trends of WhatsApp University and social media. Adult human being 70 kg requires approximately 2.75 liters of fluid, which includes water, tea, milk, and other semi-solids which also contain fluids in a day, not discounting any medical condition or environmental factors or exercise. So go on thirst, go on demand, don't go on number of glasses. If at all you're counting number of glasses, then count other things, not water, just on a lighter vein.
Right. But sir, just if I could
But
just
even
take
that 8 will be too much. Yeah?
Right. But if I could just take that conversation forward with our experts here, when it also comes to intake of all kinds of fluid, there is also this conversation we have, well, if you're having something that's highly caffeinated, you need to drink more water. What exactly is the kind of discussion, or what exactly is the entire reasoning behind this, if at all? Doctor, if I may just ask you to elaborate on that, please.
So sometimes what happens is that when you, some of these caffeinated drinks, etc., cause you to dehydrate more because they include diuresis. That means you may be excreting and removing more water, and therefore you may need to top it up with extra water. Plus, what happens is that whenever you're taking some of these other beverages, you're also munching on other stuff which increase your water requirement. So these are, but these are not backed by science. These are everyday assumptions that we have, and these are everyday, like Dr. Bagai just said, it is directed by symptoms of your personal need rather than by any absolute fact as such. So these things are also replicated in other environments, like on high altitude, you may sweat less or you may sweat more. So these requirements vary with the environmental condition and your personal need, and not on an absolute number that we sometimes try to achieve.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for that entire explanation. Thank you. Nikita, next question.
Thanks. The next question, again, something that we've heard repeatedly and something that a lot of us believe in is natural or herbal supplements are always considered safe because they are natural. What do you have to say about that? Dr. Bagai is, of course, very, very confident about this and believes in it with all his heart.
Please join me in welcoming our chief guest for the day, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for the Ministry of Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, and Minister of State in the Prime Minister's Office, handling personnel, public grievance and pensions, Department of Atomic Energy, and Department of Science. Dr. Jitendra Singh has been at the forefront of several key conversations around innovation, research, and India's scientific future.
Today, space technology has entered every Indian household, and that was precisely the commitment and vision envisaged by our founding father, Vikram Sarabhai.
A professor, a clinical practitioner, a published author, a politician. Dr. Jitendra Singh is a man who wears many hats. Dr. Singh took an unconventional path to becoming one of India's key cabinet ministers. Today, he holds multiple portfolios. He is the Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Sciences. He also serves as the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's Office for Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Space. Born in 1956 in Jammu, Dr. Singh rose to prominence in politics after he joined BJP in 2012, quitting his post as a professor of diabetes and endocrinology at Government Medical College and Hospital, Jammu. He was inducted as the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's Office in 2014 as a first-time Lok Sabha member. In 2019, he won the second time from the Udhampur constituency in Jammu and Kashmir. In 2024, Dr. Singh was re-elected and retained his ministries in the third Modi ministry. Before entering full-time politics, Dr. Jitendra Singh was a doctor of diabetes and endocrinology, holding an MBBS degree from Stanley Medical College, Chennai, and an MD from Government Medical College, Jammu. Dr. Singh authored several books, including the bestseller Diabetes Made Easy. As Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Singh launched India's first indigenously made research vessel, Sindhu Sadhana, in 2014 in Goa. Under his leadership, India's space journey made it to the spotlight, from Chandrayaan-3 on the moon to Aditya L1 towards the sun. Dr. Singh also spearheaded reforms to address governance-related grievances nationwide. From caring for patients to overseeing the country's scientific and strategic governance, Dr. Jitendra Singh stands out as a multifaceted leader who has relentlessly served the nation and its people in every role he has taken on.
Well, it's an exciting moment globally, but perhaps a more consequential one for India, given the role it can play in innovation and also shaping the healthcare system as a whole. And there are many questions that we have that we want answers to, and of course, particularly among them is what this opportunity looks like for India. And to ask some of those questions, I would like to invite on stage my colleague Shreya Upadhyay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Singh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can we once again have a huge round of applause? We don't get Dr. Singh every day among us to have our questions answered. So thank you very much. It's an honor for us to have you here with us. Can I start by asking you where we stand as a country in terms of public health care? The Prime Minister has a vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, and one of the most crucial parameters in becoming a developed country by 2047, in becoming a superpower, is public health care. Where do we stand at the moment, and what is the vision ahead? What's the roadmap ahead?
I think the easiest way to understand where we stand is to look back and recall where we stood, say, a decade and a half ago. As Churchill always said, the longer we look back, the further we look forward. And if you look back about 2 decades back, India was never taken seriously for its healthcare practices across the world. Rather, it was not talked about or seen very highly. And I think there was a reason for that, because as a society, we were never very health conscious or medically conscious. If someone fell sick, they would wait for 3-4 days. If they didn't get well, then they would visit a doctor. अगर ठीक हो गए, माँ का आशीर्वाद. अगर नहीं रहे, तो पिछले जन्मों का कर्म. So you had homemade placebos to take care of yourself. And today, the same country, the same nation, the same society, which was not taken seriously for its therapeutic healthcare practices, is today being hailed as a global leader in preventive healthcare, mind you, not curative. Bimari na ho uske liye, we are now leading the world. We were the first to come out with a DNA vaccine in COVID, and then also offer it to 30 other countries. Now we have HPV vaccine, which is known to be effective in cervical cancers, more so common among females, and likewise. So I think there's a paradigm shift, not only where we stand, but also as the world looks up to us. Today we are, as far as our biopharma products is concerned, or biomanufacturing is concerned, we stand number 3, India Pacific, number 12 or number 13 globally. We have made a niche for ourselves in producing devices, heart valves, which are cost effective, without compromise on the quality, as a result of which we are also exporting, and we are also attracting medical tourism from outside. So that's a huge, huge change in nature. And I think we are now gone are the days when you had a You would recall the old timers that once upon a time, about 30 years back or 35 years, a place like Houston became very famous in India because any VIP had a heart attack, he would go to Houston for a bypass surgery. It's no longer so. Anything that is available, any part of the world is also available over here, and that too at a more cost-effective option. As a result of which, India is now emerging as a preferred healthcare destination for people from across the world. And we have also qualified in our indigenous capacities. Only last year we came out with the first ever indigenous antibiotic. Earlier on, all the antibiotics, the trials were done outside, the salt was developed outside, right from the day the first ever antibiotic came to this world, which was penicillin, that time described as the queen of medicines. Then the successive generations of antibiotics, whether the streptomycin, chlorophenicol, tetracycline, the gram-negative ones. We have now come out with 2 antibiotics, trials done in India, and being marketed by, of course, that's in PPP model. The nephromycin, which is found to be effective more effective in the resistant respiratory infections, which are commonly seen in the immunocompromised hosts like the COVID patients, or the cancer patients, or uncontrolled diabetics, is being manufactured by a Mumbai-based multinational. And the other one is, I think, Zyfi, which is, again, effective against gram-negative infections and E. coli, more effective in the urinary tract infections. So I think we have now come, and one more example which I like to share because that will be quite amusing for the audience in this room. Hemophilia. We are the first to have come out with a successful gene-driven trial, genetic remedy for hemophilia, which is a clotting disorder. And why I'm saying that this room will find it interesting is that if you go back to the history of medicine, it is said that the first ever case of hemophilia, the deficiency of clotting factor 8, was discovered in one of the cousins of Queen Victoria. So not only that we have qualified in diseases we have been eating from India, namely the tropical diseases, the communicable diseases, we are now also in a position to find solutions about diseases or solutions for diseases which originated from the West. So it's a huge change. And most of this has happened in only the last 12 years, after the 26th of May 2014 when Prime Minister Modi was sworn in. So I think we have enough evidence to say that.
So, you know, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Singh is also a diabetologist, and I'm going to take the leverage a little later,
I'm basically
sir.
one.
Yeah, he was, but we'll take the leverage.
I'm still.
Yeah, I'll take the leverage of taking guideline and
Unfortunately, a doctor once is a doctor always, a captain once is a captain
Absolutely.
always, even a journal retired continues to be a journalist.
Absolutely. So I'll take that leverage of taking advice from you a little later into our discussion. But sir, you mentioned medical tourism, and that is for sure India has witnessed, you know, a lot of people coming from abroad here for treatment. But domestically, I want to understand from you, how far have we been able to bridge that gap between rural and urban India? The kind of shortages of doctors, the kind of crises and situations that we've seen our people staying in the rural areas face, have we been able to bridge that and get it to at least, if not equal, but closer to the urban level?
No, I agree with you. That is, of course, an issue which has been confronting the country for quite some time, but I think headway is being made in that, and there's a continuous effort in that direction. For example, this Ayushman Bharat. Now, this is a unique health insurance company. I think the first of its kind in the world. And those of us who've been practitioners like me would bear me out that most of the health insurance schemes earlier did not insure you for a pre-existing disease. Suppose you had a heart disease or an underlying coronary heart disease, your insurance will cover all the other organs, not heart. And even, God forbid, if you had a heart attack and you claimed premium, they would try to prove by hook or crook that you had camouflaged it. I mean, they were so conservative. Now, here is a disease. If someone is detected having a cancer, the next day after detection, he can go and he or she can get himself insured under Ayushman Bharat and claim all that amount. So that is one aspect. So it's being addressed at multiple levels. Secondly, of course, they increase the number of the medical colleges, the medical schools, the government sector to make the education more accessible. And also this recent announcement also in the budget of having cancer care facility in each of the districts. As far as our Tata Memorial Center Mumbai is concerned, which is also associated with one of the departments that I am dealing with, the Department of Atomic Energy, we have now set up 11 such hospitals across the country, considering the prevalence of cancer going up. Last year we had 12 lakh new reported cases of cancer in this country, and the way it is going up, it might go up to about 20 lakhs in the next 3-4 years. So 11 of the full-fledged hospitals, and say about maybe around 200 or so of the hospitals where they are providing some kind of a cancer care facility. So we are in an expansionist mode, plus also the private sector being taken on board, because the demarcation between the public and the private sector in every sphere has been done away with. As I said, it's being dealt with at the multiple level, which would also imply, which is not something which is often discussed, is that in the last budget, when we came out recently, in the last session, we came out with the Shanti Act to open the nuclear sector to the private players. One of the components which is got underreported because it didn't catch the imagination was that even the nuclear medicine research has been thrown open to private sector. And there's fascinating things happening in nuclear medicine. Even if you see the Tatas, they've come out with a possible cure for acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a kind of a blood cancer commonly prevalent in children. They are also working on liver, both cirrhosis as well as carcinoma. So so what I said, when I said multiple, it's A, at the level of outreach, B, at the level of making research more inclusive, three, C, at the level of pooling resources from different sources, both domestically, internationally. And yes, the issue still continues because we have deficiency of healthcare professionals in many parts of the country. But I think year by year, the situation is changing. So gradually, earlier on there were multiple factors, because some of the doctors trained in the urban areas or cosmopolitans would not even find comfortable living in a very suburban area or a far or a remote rural area, which is also not so now. There's also a lot of democratization in the lifestyles in India. So it's a very holistic thing. Why a doctor doesn't go to a particular spot is not only for professional reasons, of course that's important, because he has many other options in the cities, but also for the entire ecosystem, about the family being raised there, the children being raised there. So all that is now changing. So society evolves as a whole. So I think a difference is happening. Though I agree with you, we still need to do a lot much in that direction, and the endeavor has to continue.
Sir, so far we've talked about what you and the government have been doing. Now I want to talk about what challenges you face in implementation. Because when you talk about an HPV vaccine, about cervical cancer, there's less awareness among people, even lesser willingness to adopt the kind of practices that are needed to prevent such diseases. Or when the Prime Minister talks about menstrual hygiene from the ramparts of the Red Fort. In terms of implementation, because it requires personal habits to change, at the government level, at the level of ASHA workers, self-help groups who implement these on ground, what are the kind of challenges that the government faces from the people?
No, I agree with you. You can't leave everything to the government, so it has to be a collective effort. But as I said in my opening remark, in response to your opening question, that there's a paradigm shift from what it was till about a decade back and what it is today. Today, a common Indian citizen is much, much more health conscious. As I said earlier, they had homemade remedies, homemade placebos, even for the prognosis going bad. It's no longer so. People are now increasingly becoming, subjecting themselves to regular health checkups, also to preventive methods. Sometimes it's being overdone also, though that's not very polite to say. But there's a change happening, and I think that's a multifactorial outcome, because we were a society which had just got out of 200 years of colonial rule. We were struggling for the basics of life, for the basic amenities of life. I used to come across patients, because my 95 or 99% practice was diabetic, so they would draw a calendar and skip medicine twice a week, or skip medicine 4 days a month. And I would find some resident scolding the patient. कि अगर दवाई नहीं खानी थी तो आए क्यों? Then I would quietly call the boy and tell him, you try to understand his sensitivity, because for a person who is have not, his most precious possession is the self-respect. Maybe he doesn't want to say that he can't afford, because he has to take care of the other expenses as well for the family. So issues of affordability were there for non-compliance. Of course, the social beliefs were also there. But all that is undergoing change, just as it is undergoing change overall in your standard of living, also in the level of aspiration. The aspirations were also limited. So I think it's gradually, we are an evolving society, and we're just about 80 years past independence, and 80 years is a very small lifespan in the age of a nation. For a human being, it appears कि अब तो भाई अंदर से कोई बुलावा आ गया. But for a nation, when the history is written 80 years, do not occupy even the footnote of a chapter. It is written in the Ras.
Yeah, that's true. We're a very young nation as compared to other countries.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But Dr. Singh, I also want to understand and shift our focus to, you mentioned antibiotics and medicines, and India's been the pharmacy of the world. But there's a huge challenge of antibiotic resistance that has come in. And doctors like yourselves would understand the repercussions of what we're staring at. It might look like a small problem, but it isn't. How are we planning to challenge this? Yes, awareness is the first step, but what do we do moving forward?
No, I agree with you, and I think that is something which is can't be left to the government alone. That is something which the citizen has to take responsibility, and also an equal measure to the medical professionals. Sometimes there is overdoing in this, as I hinted out in my earlier remark. So maybe over-treatment or using certain antibiotics or antimicrobials when it could have been done otherwise. About 2 centuries back, Oscar Wilde wrote that the precious pounds that are spent in treating a fever through medicine could be better spent on arranging a good caring nurse. Which in other words means that many of the viral fevers may not require a very heroic treatment. They might just require resuscitation of the body, some rest, avoiding exposures, some boosters, nutrition. But maybe the patient is in a hurry and the doctor is in also a hurry. So I don't blame either of the two, because I've been a practitioner. So if I don't, तो वो कहेगा उसी के घर जाके कहेगा तू डॉक्टर बदल दे. So I lose my patient. So there is so much of concern. And I think to agreeing with you, it requires awareness, both on the part of the patient as well as the doctor.
Which is what I was coming to. Oscar Wilde sir also wrote, the only thing I can't resist is temptation. And when you have an antibiotic in front of you, and you have, a rush hour office, and you have a corporate job.
But actually that is also a misplaced impression, because certain viral fevers would again take same time even if you give an antibiotic. Yeah. So for example, if you have common cold, acute coryza which is called, even if you take antibiotic, you're not going to get rid of it for less than 3-4 days.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the patient is also in a hurry, and the doctor is at the risk of losing the patient. So unless the entire milieu undergoes a transformation, which will take some time,
Yeah. Quickly, I also want to talk about, Dr. Singh, mental health. And earlier we had a session on mental health. The government has, been dealing with mental health crisis, mental health situations. The Supreme Court has also formed a national task force as far as mental health is concerned. How is the government really planning to deal with this? This is, such a fast-spreading challenge, and more youngsters are being gripped into it. And now you have the problem of, people going to AI and talking about suicide, and then ending up committing suicides. That's the biggest challenge.
No, I think it'll not be optimally correct to leave it to government. Because as Mark Twain once said, the economics is too serious a subject to be left to economists alone. So this is a depression happening, or stress issues happening, or suicidal tendencies happening, is a multifactorial outcome of so many things. And I think much of factors emanating from the social milieu, from the economic factors or issues, also from the increasing competitiveness and the aspirational surge which this country is witnessing. So I think the family, the society, and the citizenry in general may have to contribute much, much more. However much a government tries, it will not be able to achieve the optimum results unless everybody has a stake. And then also the malpractices which are happening, like you see, last year there were those flash floods and I found some of the new bridges being flown away. So I asked the highway authorities, I said, what has this happened? Because in my constituency also, in just about a year back. So to prove his point, he showed me a photograph. He says, see, these are 15 panels and 12 have been dug out by illegal mining by your own people. So I had no answer to that. So this also requires esteem, this requires a value system, this requires a sense of responsibility in the sense that my stake is not only my stake, it's your stake also, or your stake is not. So if I dig a bridge, hoping that I'll make a booty out of this or a fortune out of this, let me not forget that someday my child or my family member may also be driving on the top of the same bridge and face a bad consequence. So unless we think that our stakes are linked, our interests are linked, so that kind of awakening in the society is very important. And since we are opening up to these new options of technology, as I mentioned, AI and things, so we are still learning how best to use them optimally. And then I think AI-driven human intelligence is worse than human intelligence-led AI. So that is another factor.
My last question, sir. Since you are a doctor, I would like to take that leverage and ask you if there's one thing that you would like to tell people today to have, a healthy lifestyle, to live a healthy life, what would it be?
No, for the mental health, I think to be positive. What happens is most of the time we think about others. We don't think about ourselves. So if you are sitting in that chair, I keep bothering, why she, why not me? Why he, why there? If we just focus on ourselves and then try to see where I was and where I am today, so that's good enough for me. So that will solve half the problem. And as far as the physical health is concerned, I think it's equally important to guard against the disinformation which is spreading this side. You have, hosts of these nutritionists sitting there, dietitians sitting there, rolling out fanciful prescriptions. And the more fanciful prescriptions, the more followers. Suppose I give you a diet chart with 7 breakfasts for 7 days, then I become more popular because I'm sensationalizing all that. So we have to guard against that. And that's also, I think, a transit phenomenon because we are new to it. Your body itself dictates you what you should be doing. Absolutely. So just to be closer to oneself, both physically and mentally, will take care of both mental as well as the physical health.
Absolutely. As the saying goes, simple living, high thinking and things.
Absolutely.
That is something that we all have to follow. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Jitendra Singh. Can
you.
we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for having such a candid and honest conversation with Dr. Singh. I request Mr. Rabin Sharma, Managing Editor of WION, to please thank our guest.
Well, Dr. Singh has perfectly primed us for our next and the final session for the day. And building on what he just said, we do live in an age of contradictions. We're surrounded by more health advice than ever before, and also more misinformation. We're constantly searching for quick fixes, shortcuts, and miracle solutions. Even though most experts will tell you that health is usually built around consistency and not hacks. So how do we strike the right balance between cure and care, between wellness trends and medical evidence? And how do we define what good health activity it actually looks like in the modern world? Let's explore those questions in our final session of the day with a remarkable panel whose work sits at the intersection of cure, care, and long-term well-being. And to take the conversation ahead, may I please invite on stage my colleague Shivan Channa.
From herbalists in Africa using herbs to treat ailments, to acupuncturists in China using needles to cure migraines, to yoga practitioners in India practicing meditation to reduce stress, people from across the globe have long turned to using traditional remedies to address their health needs. Today's healthcare landscape faces a split between modern medicine and traditional healing. Traditional medicine, defined as systems for health and well-being, predates modern science-based medicine. Modern medicine is highly effective at treating acute illness and emergencies through rigorous clinical trials and evidence-based science. The cure. Whereas traditional medicine is rooted in holistic, person-centered, and culturally responsive approaches to diagnosis, prevention, and elimination of diseases. The care. The debate between these two approaches has become more crucial and relevant than ever, with the rise in lifestyle disorders and awareness of natural healing. As healthcare evolves, it is important to understand the strengths and limitations of both systems to make informed choices, combining holistic benefits of herbal remedies with the scientific precision of modern medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving to our final session, Cure versus Care. And to discuss it, we call upon the stage Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is a distinguished pediatrician and nephrologist recognized for his expertise in pediatric nephrology. A Padma Shri awardee, Dr. Bagai is currently the chairman and managing director of the WION Health Clinic in New Delhi. Dr. Shikha Sharma. Dr. Shikha Sharma is a celebrity nutrition evangelist and a health entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience in preventative health care. She currently serves as the creator of the VidiQ diet protocol and scientific mentor at Ranfort Wellness in New Delhi. Mini Shastri. Mini Shastri is a yoga teacher, wellness consultant, columnist, and the founder of Om Yogashala in New Delhi. With over 2 decades of teaching experience, Mini Shastri is recognized for her depth, clarity, and individual approach, making her teachings accessible to students of all ages, abilities, and stages of practice.
Absolute pleasure having all our 3 panelists here. It's the final panel for the evening, and let's keep it as conversational as we can. Let's try to engage everybody. And cure and care, fairly conversational, fairly easy to understand. But the topic, it goes with cure versus care, and I think that's essentially where I want to come in. And Dr. Sharma, let me start with you. Would you want to call it cure versus care, or would you want to call it cure and care? And what's the percentage that you would want to give to both in overall healing of anyone?
See, healthcare is a continuum. It is not this or that, meaning if somebody has a heart attack and the person has had his cardiac bypass, prevention even starts after that, because a person can return with another heart attack, which is more fatal. Similarly, if somebody is just starting out and they discovered that they have got high blood sugar and they're in their 20s or 30s, it doesn't mean that they will not take the medication. They take the medication, but simultaneously they'll work along to fix the root cause of why they got diabetes. So I think this either or is definitely not there. It has to be together. It is a continuum of care. But I would say looking at the health burden of India, looking at how few doctors we have, and we can't create doctors overnight. You have to clear exams. You can't give a medical degree to everybody, which means that the doctor has to be supported by a huge team of preventive healthcare specialists who make sure that at the end of the day, it's not about survival, it is about quality of life and optimal health. So when we are talking about optimal health, the best version of yourself, it's not about just survival, it is beyond that.
Dr. Ghai, let me bring you in here. What I asked ma'am as well, along with that, do you feel care can be expanded to a degree where it can overcome the need for a cure, keep you healthy throughout? Over to you.
So care and cure can never be as versus. Care and cure always go together. So let me explain a little bit in detail. When you talk in terms of cure, you're almost talking in terms of precision, total, complete recovery. Very often that does not happen. So say for example, a cardiac patient is cured of his disease in terms of putting in a stent and removing his cardiac blockage, but requires some amount of rehabilitation when that person goes home. That's care. Without care, cure cannot work. So it's always together. It's synonymous. It's one combined force. When you look at sports injuries, without physiotherapy going on at home, once the patient goes back, you will never recover fully. When you look at road accidents, when you look at spinal injuries, when you look at muscular injuries, you look at post-transplant, even a small child coming home from pediatric ICU requires that much amount of care. Therefore, the complete concept of ambulatory care has come in. And when you talk in terms of allopathic, I'll keep the traditional medicine part aside because that's going to be a fireball if you want that to happen. But if you look at a comprehensive care, and Shika's right here with us, nutrition is perhaps the most underrated aspect of overall healthcare, right? It's just almost taken as granted because some grandmom or granddad at home is going to take care of it. It's scientific. Gut is the second brain, right? There is a known axis, gut-brain axis, gut-cardiac axis, gut-respiratory axis. It affects your pituitary hypothalamic axis. It controls your hormones. In fact, Dr. Jitendra just mentioned about antibiotic use and misuse and antibiotic resistance. Unnecessary antibiotics change the gut flora, which impacts your mental health. Now, when you talk in terms of mental health, say, for example, you can give medication to control the disease, sometimes even cure, but long-term rehab occurs at home. So you need a complete counseling structure, you need a psychologist structure to make the process more comprehensive. So there is a phrase which is called as continuing of care. So when you talk in terms, I know there was a session on mental health and I've entered into mental health with
You can't keep that away from any panel
yeah,
discussion.
so it's by the name of Zenre Wellness. So when you talk in terms of wellness, it's more comprehensive. So by the time we finish this panel, this particular panel, say for 45 minutes, there are approximately 65 Indians who would have committed suicide. 8 lakh Indians commit suicide every year, 1 every 40 seconds. That's ridiculous. 15% of Indians are at risk of some sort of mental health during their lifetime. That's your risk factor. 1 in 7 ladies postpartum have recognizable and reaching the stage of treatable depression. When we were medical students, that was donkey years back, I'm not going to give you my age, the incidence of autism spectrum disorder. Does everyone know what autism is? So it's a neuroregressive disorder generally picked up in the first few years after birth. It was 1 in 400. By the time we finished our residency, it was 1 in 200. When we joined practice for ages, and then we stopped reading about it for a while, it was 1 in 122. In 2026 May, it is 1 in 68 children are predisposed to get autism spectrum disorder. So there are a huge host of things which are happening. Care and cure are complementary. They are synergistic. We should never divide it. It works together. But we have to follow science. We have to follow evidence-based medicine. We have to follow data. There was also a comment about AI and things like that. It always is a support structure for us. AI is algorithm-based, just digressing from the main topic only for 15 seconds. So this is something which is data-driven. So more algorithms the computer forms through machine learning, that's the kind of information it derives. AI need not look after the clinical variables. So therefore, the human mind is more important, human brain is more important, and therefore the doctors are more important, and Indian doctors are the best in the world. Over to you.
All right, fine. I'll let that thought resonate for a bit. Mini Shastri, yoga has been an integral part of your life. It has been your life. You've spent years teaching and practicing. Subjectively, and you're totally entitled to that opinion because that's how you've lived, how much of it has helped you keep medicines aside, and how much of it do you feel, in your own experience, helps you ensure that you're healthy?
No, immensely.
Go ahead, please explain it to us.
So, yoga is a very logical science, and there's a krama to it. There is a progression to it that is meant to be followed if your teacher is able to relay the understanding of yoga to you in the right manner. When people take it out in piecemeal, I want to meditate, I want to pranayam, I want to learn pranayam because I'm just feeling mentally, I need that anchor. I feel it's a teacher's job to know where that person stands, because yoga is like yoga understands the very, very delicate roadmap that it gives. There's a blueprint of the subtle body, and your teacher has to essentially understand that not everybody is ready to jump into a pranayam or meditation straight away, which is why I come back to the fact that there is a krama and a logical sequence to it that was given to us in texts. And if I ask you to take a long exhalation, your mind will fight back, and more often than not, you might just feel a little dejected and say, yoga's not for me. But we may have started on the wrong note. The whole purpose of asana is to take, if I say in traditional words, rajas out of the body, the overactivity of the body, this constant striving, this constant sense of striving that we have to always be looking out for something else over our shoulders. This is the speed and pace that we live at, and it's almost normal, and it's not normal for the body. The body just needs a nice combination of being able to get rid of the daily wear and tear that our body takes a hit from. Therefore, yoga is looked at in a way that your teacher should be able to give you a little bit of a detoxification, purification practices. And I feel all we see is asana, which is nice in its own place, but there's also one step before asana. Are you holding too much? Are you holding toxins in your body? Are you holding toxin in your phlegm, in your sinuses? Are you holding toxins on your tongue? Are you holding toxins in your, your bile system? So it gives you this wonderful shat kriyas, which have helped me a lot. And the shat kriyas, which are shat meaning 6, they have helped me take air, detoxify my body, even something like tratak, like waking up in the morning, and Huberman talks about it in his podcast. And yoga has always understood that the eyes are a lovely doorway to your parasympathetic nervous system. And the eyes, things like tratak, or looking at the sun in the morning, or watching an object and letting the heat out of the eyes come out. So many people tell me that I have dry eyes. And I know that, eyes can only take that much stress, and eyes is a lovely sort of tool that yogis gave us to be able to take care of our stress in the body, to take care of the stress physiology of the body. So let's make yoga exciting. Let's make it interesting that it always was. Let's not try and aim to do 54 Surya Namaskars.
Yeah, or just limit it to a physical activity. Largely I understand from you. It's not just that, it's far more. Let me move to...
So it's been game-changing for me to be able to do all the things that yoga comes with, the whole roadmap, not just asana.
Perfect. Dr. Sharma, environment. You know, there is, and maybe this will not be a popular opinion in this hall, but largely people feel scared to go to the hospital. वहाँ जाके ठीक नहीं होंगे, ठीक घर आके होंगे. You know, that the environment, that's where I'm really going. How much do you feel the environment plays a role in your overall recovery? Because the cure can take place in a certain environment, within certain tools, under supervised guidance. But that care which one needs in an environment where one is generally comfortable, and this is where your psychosomatic issues also can be rested or they can erupt. So how much do you feel environment plays a role?
I think environment plays a huge role. And let's look at some of the low-hanging fruit, as it's said in management, birthing centers. Initially, all women went to the hospital, which was the same where the heart patients were going, where other critically ill patients were going, and women were having a normal birthing experience. And obviously they were stressed out because they thought they were ill, there was something serious. So birthing centers came up, and that concept changed because now birthing centers were happy places and there were not so many sick patients there. Yes, absolutely environment plays a role, and that is why in many hospitals, if you see, they don't like to keep the patient long. They want to discharge the patient as soon as possible and then move to ambulatory care, and there is a whole ecosystem of businesses which take care of the patient. So the patient is discharged quickly as soon as the patient is stable and the doctor feels the patient can go home, and then the nursing care happens at home. So I think it's very important. It can really contribute to a patient getting better sooner and in a more efficient way.
Dr. Gai, do you agree with the earlier two remarks, that whatever we've discussed so far?
So I think as a patient, we have to start moving a human being from illness to wellness. And any human being will be a lot more comfortable at home, and it will be more cost effective at home. There is very often a statement made that Indian healthcare is 10 times cheaper than Western healthcare, but Indian healthcare in the private corporate structure is still expensive even for the affluent, right? And the insurance doesn't do us any favor in spite of taking insurance. So we leave that aside. Going forward, ambulatory care has come up in a huge way. Home care has come up in a huge way. You have to look at the more delicate parts of recovery, and that can take place at home. I've always said this, that in Indian families, the family is the greatest fraternity. That's your backbone, that's your support, that's your pillar. And there's, in moments of crisis, of illness, family always rallies around. The second thing is you have to look at issues of nutrition, like in a balanced diet, looking after the micronutrient deficiencies, taking care of fluid electrolyte balance. You have to look into the aspects of sleep, right? The most neglected part otherwise of recovery is sleep. But you have to look after not only the number of hours, but the time in the circadian rhythm when a person is getting into the habit of sleeping. Today's generation normally will tend to sleep late, and the younger sleep even later. I always check when my WhatsApp status for my sons, they're pretty much old now, as to what time they slept. But the fact is that if you sleep late or sleep less, what we call as sleep disruption, this is an inflammatory episode in your body, and this happens recurrently. So if you have a disrupted sleep, and there are studies, scientific studies to prove, if you have disruptive sleep patterns for 5 nights out of 7, say for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you have almost a 20 to 30% decline in your cognitive skills. That's huge. That in terms of memory, attention, your behavior patterns, your aggression, your relationship building, and this is affecting the youth even more. You have to look at screen time. You have to look at social media impact, even at the time of the hospital or in the time of recovery. You have to look at hygiene at home. We take hygiene as taken as granted as home. So post-recovery, infection control, overall ambience control, you have to look at light. Indians never look at light. You have to look at the flux of the light. Darkness at night, in terms of being awake during the dark periods, affects your circadian rhythm. It releases more cortisol. It decreases your testosterone in men. It disrupts your estrogen in women. These are all scientific things. So I think when you look at wellness as a whole, you have to look at a complete umbrella. You have to look at it as a human being, as a soul. It's a cliche. Human beings when they become ill, are not a disease entity. They are not a bed number. They are not a ward number. They're a soul who comes to us, and we have to treat them exactly like that.
Dr. Bagai, hold that thought. Let me just quickly go over to the audience. We spoke about sleeping patterns. Sleeping late, waking up obviously late, or waking up early and still sleeping late. Just with the show of hands, what's, like, you're using your smartphone and that's the last thing you do before you sleep. How many people do that?
Everyone has put their phone.
I'll keep my hand up.
That means this session was very boring.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up? You're looking at your phone. How many people look at the phone the first thing they do when they wake up? So there we go. Let me bring that back to what we were discussing. And mental health is something we can't keep out of any discussion, especially when it comes to health or anything else. And the phone is almost, it can't be removed from when you talk about any mental health discussion. Do you feel keeping the phone away would be the first step to getting sound sleep? And let me take to Mini Shastri first.
Also, I wanted to add, Dr. Bagai, that you may know that sleep is one of the 3 pillars of wellness in Ayurveda.
Agreed.
Apart from diet and lifestyle, and we covered all of it. So I always say that science is catching up to Ayurveda and yoga.
He has his fireballs ready. So he's saying it's going to be a fireball discussion if we go there, but we will touch upon it too. Please, Mani Shastri, go ahead.
Your question was about the
sleep.
phone.
Putting the phone away will give you better sleep, eventually leading to better health. Do you agree with that?
You know, it's the biochemistry of habits. Good habits beget good habits. And, you know, the brain doesn't understand habits. Both of them have the same reward. The dopamine is the same reward for a good and a bad habit. But yoga teaches us, or Ayurveda teaches us, or sister sciences of naturopathy give us tools. And when you start to implement them into your life, actually implement them with nairantarya, meaning without interruptions, according to the sutras, you actually start to feel a slightly more powerful habit will always shadow a less powerful habit. And you take a comparison, anything. You build a habit of waking up early, it's a powerful habit. You will wake up, no matter what time you sleep, you'll wake up at the same time in the morning because your system urges that feeling of joy, which is so innate to us.
You want to add?
Just to add to this in a scientific manner, so again, whatever I'm saying has authentic scientific data in peer-reviewed, international, published, established, recognized journals. Every hour, more than 3 to 4 hours in a week of using social media in screen time. Just imagine 3 to 4 hours in a week. We probably spend that in half a day.
But 6 to 7 hours a day, it's usually
13% decrease in cognitive function. Just imagine what we are doing to ourselves. The largest study was in Stanford last year, in which 35,000 university students enrolled in this research study. They were kept away from social media and screen time for 6 months. 29% increase in academic performance, memory, recall, writing skill, mathematics, you name it, overall cognitive skills. The issue is that we have actually become slaves of a device. Right? We are more and more dependent on it. The full game is on reward hormone. So this is again scientifically published. So what happens is social media and abnormal sleep pattern, what it does is it releases a hormone known as dopamine. Dopamine is your release hormone, right? When a youngster falls in love with a girl or a girl falls in love with a young man, you get a release of hormones. These are called as reward hormones. These are addictive. Right? So the word addiction is much more stronger of social media than even gaming, gambling, smoking, or alcohol. Does anyone want me to repeat that again? Social media addiction releases more reward hormones than alcohol, smoking, gaming, or any other addiction which a human being has. And there is an abnormal ratio between what we call as serotonin, gabapentin, and dopamine. This is what causes disruption. There are also MRI studies to collaborate, brain volume studies to collaborate, cognitive studies to collaborate. Use social media as less as possible. Our lives cannot be dictated by reels, shares, likes, collabs. This is such nonsense. I mean, this is the biggest curse in not only in this generation, even in our generation. I mean, we rely on such fictitious props that we actually forget how to live.
Dr. Sharma, I'll bring you then. Social media, we'll try to keep it back to what we were discussing, cure and care. But when we talk about care, social media is very much a norm of life. Nothing takes away from what Dr. Bagai has already shared. But you can't do away with what the world is functioning like now. Yes, sleeping pattern can be made better. That needs to be done. But overall, do you feel when it comes to care, phones need to be kept away? And will that eventually also lead to keeping diseases away?
So I'll tell you something which is very important, and I'll just park some thoughts. So there is an author called Nir Eyal, and he has written a book on how to build addictive technology. Many of the addictive technologies actually are based on casinos and how reward systems work. So there's a huge science of psychology on how to get people addicted to you. And they have psychologists, they have statisticians who work on that. Now, having said that, we can't wish away phones, we can't wish away many things. But what is very important is, it's like giving your 16-year-old a Ferrari. People love speed. And that is why the license system comes in. So I think as human beings, as we are creating new objects of desire and efficiency, we also have to learn how to manage those objects of desire and efficiency. Meaning thereby that anything which is powerful, whether it's a car or whether it's a medication or whether it is social media, we have to learn how to have a relationship with it. Like, for example, I think when it comes to food, in the last 40, 50 years, a lot of addictive foods have come.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to tell somebody, please don't have sugar, please don't have this, please don't have junk food. But little realizing that industries have spent millions of dollars creating those products which are addictive. So I think what we need to do as human beings is that we have to understand, yes, we are human. Yes, this is addictive. Now, how do I redefine my relationship? And the moment a human is aware, the best part is that human being is not just about intelligence or memory. Yeah. Human being is something about wisdom which AI doesn't have. So human being can step in and change behavior consciously, which a machine cannot do. But you just have to be conscious that yes, this is happening and there is a problem.
Let me get, finally, let me also get remarks on quick fixes, on your thoughts on what quick fixes are. Dr. Bagai, I'll start with you. Very simply, rapid weight loss programs typically involve extreme calorie restriction, excessive exercise. That's what one would understand. But quick fixes, can they be made redundant?
I think quick fixes always fall flat on the face. We follow so much of advertisement, so much of commercialization, not only of objects, attire, food, ultra-processed food, which is sheer poison for our gut and brain. These are things which from early childhood have to be inculcated. I would very strongly suggest the Indian government to inculcate and change this damn syllabus altogether. We are producing miniature robots who have no sense of knowledge. They just learn, they go to the exam hall, vomit out the multiple choice questions, and the classical example is what is happening in the NEET. I think we have to take an overall relook from childhood. Teach correct value systems. Eating correct is very important. Yeah, just look how synonymous I am loving it. McDonald's. Yeah. It's killing India. Very clear. When you talk of Pizza Hut, pizzas are killing Indians, small children. I mean, the Zomatos don't let you cook, Blinkit don't want you to walk, and Swiggy brings it into your bedside. We have killed this generation. It's lack of exercise, obesity, hypertension, early onset diabetes.
So, but one can choose to still do it, but someone needs to tell you, okay, this is better.
I think someone, as public figures, should stand up and continuously talk about it. If 100 times 100 people tell you what is happening is wrong, people will tend to realize. The issue is, with no offense meant to any media channel, these are events which are few and far in between. I was talking to your CEO, and I said that these are things which we must do more regularly. It may not be that fashionable or revenue generation, but you're doing actually service to the next generation of human nature. This is something which you owe to the society. I've entered into health space not to earn money. I owe it to the society. I'm seeing young children suffer. I've seen toddlers having early onset dysfunctions neurologically. That's crazy. That's unacceptable. Then what's the point in spending 45 years in healthcare and not giving something back to the society?
Mini Shastri, quick fixes. You know, you want to, okay, let's just talk about losing weight. You do the treadmill for 2 days and you're already on the scale waiting to see if something changed. A little less water, okay, you're 1 kg lighter, great. 2 days later, you're back 2 kgs up because water content has changed. Just want to understand from you, can quick fixes really be made redundant? What's the way towards that?
Can it be made redundant?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you keep coming back to the problem again and again, so you know that it didn't work. Yeah. But I feel like this era or this space that we live in, for you to be consistent with something, you really don't get to see its entirety of its efficacy. For example, you know, people say, I lift weights for muscle, I do yoga for stretching, and no, it doesn't have to be like that. You can use your own body weight as weight-bearing exercises for you to be able to have optimal muscle in your, you know, body. You just have to stick to the system, and then and things like I have a shoulder injury because my trainer made me work too hard. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, trainers; they do a great job. But on the other hand, did you give one system a try for a long period, a sustained period of time? So I noticed that I notice when I'm overseas and I see students, there is a sense of commitment. I don't know why, as the civilization, why have we lost that commitment? That commitment to stick to something and to really like peel away at the layers, to really know the nuances of Ayurveda, yoga, and naturopathy. So I would say, take some time out from your work, put breaks, go away for retreats, you know, take that time out for yourself, do a detoxification, because it's not that you'll come back and 5 days later you say, oh, I'm back to eating the same way. No, you would have come back with a little bit of a knowledge base. You would have experienced those glimpses of clarity and lightness, which is what Ayurveda and yoga and, you know, naturopathy bring to you so beautifully. So when you glimpse that sense of lightness and you've had the courage to take away time and just stop work and put your phones away and go away for a detoxification, then I think that you crave for that good feeling to come back to it again and again.
Dr. Sharma, I'll get your thoughts on this before I go to Dr. Boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Firstly, I must say that's the best question, and I'll tell you why. Because a quick fix in our Indian system is a jugaad. And the reason why every one of us is guilty of jugaad is because our ecosystem rewards jugaad. From childhood, when jugaad is rewarded, how are we not going to do a quick fix? So what I'm trying to say is, I think...
This is health related, because at a lot of other places, we excel at it and it get applauded for it too.
So, let's... Health related. So what I'm trying to say is, see, our software inside our minds gets formed when we are small, when we are growing up. And also our ecosystem, our peers. The moment somebody says, oh, I lost 5 kilos in 1 week, 10 days, and say, wow. You know, so the moment you hear that wow, you see admiration, you see validation. And we are all guilty of being admired and validated. The moment somebody says, like in Japan, it has never followed the Western model. Let me be very clear. And I've studied Japanese models for years to understand how come they're so developed and yet they have value system, they have healthcare systems, because in their society, quick fixes are not appreciated, whether it's healthcare or whether it's other thing. So what I'm saying, the moment from school and college, or even, I'll give you a few examples very quickly. If you walk into a party and say, wow, you're looking great, you lost 5 kilos, 10 kilos, and you say, I did it so fast. If you meet with appreciation, it'll validate. But if you say, oh, that's not healthy, you could have done it in 3 months, that would have been, immediately somebody is saying, no, that was not right. So you will step back and say, let me not do it. I'm not getting validation. Similarly, if suppose a patient is coming to a doctor after his heart surgery, and the doctor is asking, did you start meditation? Did you start yoga? Did you start exercises? Did you start eating healthy? And the patient says no, and the doctor says no, my medicine will work, provided you do all this. Imagine such a powerful message going to the patient. So I think we're all guilty of supporting this Jugaad atmosphere, ecosystem. The moment we change the narrative, the conversation from school to hospitals, to teachers, we will change very fast because Indians are the most adaptable people.
Perfectly said, ma'am. I totally take your point. It's going to resonate with me. Dr. Bagai, you've been wanting to come in, please.
Very quickly, I mean, all of us go out for get-togethers and parties, right? There is a rhyme and a rhyme now that when you see Ozempic faces or Manjaro chins, you heard of this absolutely creepy-looking extraterrestrial creatures floating around you, and then they, some of them swing both ways, some swing three ways, some are in the film industry and things like that, right? And they look with, long baggy clothes because they've lost 20 kg and so on. They've lost their brains. You spend 2.5 to 4 lakhs for an average adult per month. That's more than someone's 1 year's salary. Wow. And 6 months after stopping this ridiculous medication, you get your weight back. So you are again relying on indiscipline of your own body, relying on external measures to tide over this particular phase. It can be a marriage, it can be a function, it can be a travel. And then what happens is you go back and then you binge. Binge on food, binge on alcohol, binge on substances. That's not correct. So the bottom line is, if you want to remain well, there is only one word. It is called as discipline. Without discipline, there is no point in anything. Please do not rely on these medications. They have significant risk of sarcopenia. That means you can lose muscle loss, not only in your legs, in your arms, in your cheeks, in your chin, but even in your heart. You are more predisposed towards pancreatic cancer. You're more predisposed towards thyroid cancer. There are known effects in optic atrophy. You may become permanently blind. You have other kind of metabolic dysfunctions. It's better to go the normal way, which is the disciplined way. It's the harder way, but the correct way. That has to be taught to this generation and the younger generation.
And overall, I think that all comes in the purview of really caring for yourself. And if you really want that change to last, give it that time, stick to the discipline. And I think that's the fine balance we also draw between what modern science is proving to us and what ancient sciences have always told us. Thank you. Thank you so much to all our panelists. It was an excellent discussion. Would like to facilitate all our panelists here. Diksha.
Please, Shivam, that was a rather insightful conversation. May I please request you to felicitate our guests with a small token of our appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude WION Health Pulse, we've explored some of the most important questions shaping the future of healthcare, from access and mental health to artificial intelligence, wellness and care. And if there's one takeaway from today, it's that the future of health will be shaped not by any single breakthrough, but by how we bring together innovation, policy, expertise, and human compassion. Thank you to all our speakers, partners, and guests for being part of this conversation. We would also like to thank our sponsors of WION Health Pulse, which has been co-powered by Arcus Hospital and Continental Hospitals. Special partners, Sarvodaya Healthcare and Eureka Forbes. And associate partners, Oxymed Hospital and Apis Honey. Thank you so much, everyone.
Continental Hospitals is nestled in the western suburbs of the city of Pearls. Hyderabad is the destination for the world's biggest and brightest IT conglomerates, and Continental Hospitals is one of India's premier healthcare facilities, with state-of-the-art infrastructure, the finest of clinicians and surgeons, and a quest for redefining patient-centric care. Established in 2013 by Dr. Guru N. Reddy, Continental Hospitals has pioneered several firsts in the Indian healthcare space.
The fundamental mission of Continental Hospitals has been to provide patient care with utmost compassion, with empathy and service excellence. Throughout the organization this past 8 to 9 years, we have fostered service delivery systems in collaboration with our entire staff, including our nurses.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, this is now time for high tea. Please enjoy yourselves, and thank you so much for being an amazing audience.
Becoming the first hospital in the world to secure JCI accreditation within 2 years of inception. First hospital in India to secure gold certification by QAI for WHO Standard Patient Safety Hospital, NABH and NBL accreditations amongst several others. Over 1.4 million square feet of built-up area, 18 floors, 800 beds and 16 modular operation theaters, Continental Hospitals brings together over 50 specialties and 7 centers of excellence. With advanced logistical, clinical, and trauma care facilities for any kind of medical emergencies, including stroke, vehicle accidents, falls, burns, or any other medical emergency, Continental is your preferred destination for 24/7 emergency healthcare.
Healthcare demands world-class doctors, specialists, technicians to treat health emergencies with the most modern equipment. Oxymed Hospital does just that. At Oxymed Hospital, innovation meets compassion to deliver healthcare that changes lives. Established in 2004 in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, our 24-hour multi-specialty institution is dedicated to advancing patient care through research, evidence-based medicine, and personalized treatment. We are especially committed to supporting patients with heart failure and those facing limited or inoperable treatment options, offering new possibilities, renewed hope, and better outcomes. Internationally recognized for his pioneering research in heart failure treatment, Dr. Sama Akbar has contributed to the global advancement of cardiac care through publications in the Journal of Cardiac Failure and Research, indexed in PubMed. his award-winning scientific presentation at AIIMS stands as a testament to his dedication to innovation, scientific excellence, and academic leadership. Together, Dr. Sama Akbar and Oximed Hospital continue to shape the future of cardiac care, driven by a commitment to prevention, intervention, research, and compassionate healing. Oximed Hospital, advancing lives through prevention, intervention, research, and compassion.
Sarvodaya, the new go-to destination for organ transplant, advanced cancer care, awake brain surgery, and robotic knee replacement. Sarvodaya Healthcare.
Continental Hospitals is nestled in the western suburbs of the city of Pearls. Hyderabad is the destination for the world's biggest and brightest IT conglomerates, and Continental Hospitals is one of India's premier healthcare facilities, with state-of-the-art infrastructure, the finest of clinicians and surgeons, and a quest for redefining patient-centric care. Established in 2013 by Dr. Guru N. Reddy, Continental Hospitals has pioneered several firsts in the Indian healthcare space.
The fundamental mission of Continental Hospitals has been to provide patient care with utmost compassion, with empathy and service excellence. Throughout the organization this past 8 to 9 years, we have fostered service delivery systems in collaboration with our entire staff, including our nurses, our paramedical staff, and all other stakeholders who come in to take care of patients and give them the best.
Becoming the first hospital in the world to secure JCI accreditation within 2 years of inception, first hospital in India to secure gold certification by QAI for WHO Standard Patient Safety Hospital, NABH and NBL accreditations amongst several others. Over 1.4 million square feet of built-up area, 18 floors, 800 beds and 16 modular operation theaters, Continental Hospitals brings together over 50 specialties and 7 centers of excellence. With advanced logistical, clinical, and trauma care facilities for any kind of medical emergencies, including stroke, vehicle accidents, falls, burns, or any other medical emergency, Continental is your preferred destination for 24/7 emergency healthcare.
Healthcare demands world-class doctors, specialists, technicians to treat health emergencies with the most modern equipment. Oximed Hospital does just that. At Oximed Hospital, innovation meets compassion to deliver healthcare that changes lives. Established in 2004 in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, our 24-hour multi-specialty institution is dedicated to advancing patient care through research, evidence-based medicine, and personalized treatment. We are especially committed to supporting patients with heart failure and those facing limited or inoperable treatment options, offering new possibilities, renewed hope, and better outcomes. Internationally recognized for his pioneering research in heart failure treatment, Dr. Sama Akbar has contributed to the global advancement of cardiac care through publications in the Journal of Cardiac Failure and Research, indexed in PubMed. His award-winning scientific presentation at AIMS stands as a testament to his dedication to innovation, scientific excellence, and academic leadership. Together, Dr. Sama Akbar and Oxymed Hospital continue to shape the future of cardiac care, driven by a commitment to prevention, intervention, research, and compassionate healing. Oxymed Hospital, advancing lives through prevention, intervention, research, and compassion.
Sarvodaya, the new go-to destination for organ transplant, advanced cancer care, awake brain surgery, and robotic knee replacement. Sarvodaya Healthcare.